Hey everybody, welcome back to another Flash recap and review. Today we're talking about 2 episodes because I missed last week since I was sick. Today we're talking about License to Elongate and The Last Temptation of Barry Allen Part 1. If you have not seen either of these episodes, go on cwtv.com or wherever you stream the episodes, and then come back here because we are talking full spoilers. Now, I will be honest with you all, I'm probably going to talk more about The Last Temptation of Barry Allen because that episode was so much crazier and had so much more going on, but I will touch on a few things in License to Elongate. So let's get into it, starting with License to Elongate. So the premise of this episode is that Barry is tagging along with Ralph on his Sue Dearborn case, and they end up in this party of villains, basically, who are about to bid on this really crazy weapon that could cause a lot of damage in Central City and the Earth as a whole. And so you see Barry and Ralph doing more civilians type stuff. Like, it's not as much of a superhero thing. It's not about them being the Flash and Elongated Man. This is just straight like skills, intelligence, and it's basically a huge a reference, an homage to 007, James Bond kind of stuff, like spy thrillers. So you can see the influence there. It's very, they have a lot of the, what's the word? They have a lot of the, okay, I don't know why I'm blanking on the word, but a lot of the typical things you would see in a spy movie. So I thought they did that part really well. But this episode starts out with the gang seeing this new hideout that Nashwell has found for Marnovu, aka the Monitor, and Barry tries to phase through this entrance to the secret lair, and it doesn't work because there's something in the material that does not allow Barry to phase through. And on the other hand, we also see Chester Pete Rugg finally waking up. Well, not waking up, but like escaping from his chamber. He's finally able to leave after they did whatever they had to do for him so he wouldn't turn into a black hole again. So now he's free and he's trying to get back to his life. But as of right now, he's still dead. Like, the rest of the world thinks he's dead. And Cecile helps him get his life together, try and get with the girl he was talking about in his live streams. And that part was okay. It wasn't the strongest. Oh, another thing too is this episode was directed by Danielle Panabaker, so shouts out to her. A lot of women directors in the Arrowverse this season, and I am here for it. While those two other stories are going on, we have Nash Wells and Allegra trying to break into the Monitor's lair, and Nash Wells wants Allegra to use her powers to try and get in because she, controls waves, and waves would be what he needs. I think it was ultraviolet rays. So Nash Wells needs Allegra to use her wave powers to try and weaken the structure that's kind of blocking the entrance, right? And she's kind of having problems like, I don't know if I should do this. I don't want to turn into my sister. And he's kind of like, no, you're not going to do that. But another really important thing about this part of the episode is that Nash Wells spills the beans and tells Allegra that Barry is the Flash. And of course she's shook, but she's also like, wow, another thing my boss is keeping from me. And they do address this in the next episode, so I will save that for when we talk about the temptation of Barry Allen. So another thing is, I liked that in this episode, Ralph kind of took center stage here. Now, he wasn't the full center of attention. It wasn't like with Cisco in Kiss Kiss Breach Breach, but it was still where you could see he kind of was in charge. And so you see him being suave. You see him being more smooth and kind of actually thinking before he makes moves and like really trying to be strategic about their mission here, while Barry's like, I'm the Flash, I can just speed around and find whatever we need to find. But Ralph teaches him that no, we can't always do that. We don't always need the Flash. Sometimes we just need Barry Allen and Ralph Dibny. You just need regular people because regular people can also get the job done, which I thought was a great message for this episode. And also it was good that since this was all a reference to James Bond, Ralph does crack a few jokes about it being a James Bond film. And I mean, they do have a very eccentric villain, which we see in Bond movies all the time, with a crazy laser weapon. There was a laser part where they were tied to chairs and the laser was going to shoot them, but of course they escaped at the last second. So, I mean, there's a lot of cool homages to James Bond. Now, overall, I would say this episode was okay. It wasn't shocking, it wasn't crazy, it didn't change anything. And I would say it kind of leans more towards filler. It's not total filler, but it does lean more towards it than the last episode did, which is okay, because I mean, sometimes there's not a lot you can do leading up to Crisis, but we do see in the next episode they really dive into that stuff. And so it was okay. And I think for me the weakest part would probably have to be Cecile's storyline, even though I'd like Chester as a character and I thought it was interesting what it did, but at the same time it was more comic relief, I feel like, and it was also maybe a little development for Cecile, like seeing her trying to be a legal assistant to metahumans. That you see a little more development for, but otherwise it didn't do much for the episode as a whole. And then the Allegra stuff was cool. I mean, now she knows Barry's the Flash, so that's going to change the hard dynamic of Iris's staff. But we'll see in the next episode how that turns out. And then the whole stuff with Barry and Ralph was cool. Oh, and there's also a sweet moment with that at the end where Barry, as the Flash, dubs Elongated Man like the new protector of the city. And then they surprise Barry with the Medal of Honor, which I thought was a really sweet moment. And it does make you really sad. Like, if Barry is about to die, then this is really going to hit hard. But overall, I thought this episode was fine. I mean, not bad, not really good, just not... It was average, and it was a little on the filler side, but it did have some small development for certain characters, so it's fine. But now, let's get into the Last Temptation of Barry Allen Part 1. Wow, this was an amazing episode. I mean, from start to finish. And it was like very thematically rich. And I also see parallels between this, The Flash, and Arrow. I've seen like the last episodes actually were kind of very similar because both Barry and Oliver had to deal with like letting other people take over, letting other people do what they needed to do. You know, not like trusting other people kind of, right? To let them do what they need to do. And so you saw that in Arrow, and you can then see it in Flash, right? But in this episode, too, it was really crazy is because at the end of the last episode, License to Elongate, you see Ralph get attacked by Bloodwork. And then it picks up right where that was in this episode. But Ralph gets infected with the Bloodwork virus or whatever, and so Barry tries to give him transfusion so he can use his speed healing blood to heal himself. But what they don't know is that some of Bloodwork's blood went into Barry, so now Bloodwork is inside Barry trying to take over. And this is a really crazy and also really thematically rich episode because you see Barry really dealing with his trauma and his feelings about crisis and about himself, how he feels about that situation, how he feels like he's letting people down, like all his fears are coming forward. And we see the consciousness of Ramsey Rosso versus the Speed Force as Barry's mom. And these two forces are fighting for control over Barry or to who gets to influence Barry. And you see that Barry is being tempted by Bloodwork because Bloodwork gives him a solution to survive crisis. He says, if you take my powers and include it with your Flash ability, then you can save so many more people, you can survive crisis. And that's very tempting to Barry because it does not seem fair. I mean, it isn't fair that he has to sacrifice himself in order to save everybody, even though this is the path he chose, even though he's trying to be a hero, even though he's done so much good for everybody else, he still is somehow getting punished for that, right? And Ramsey Rosso is offering him a solution, but the Speed Force is like, no, that's not the right way. This is not the way you want it. If you go down this path, it won't be the right thing. And we see a lot of dream sequences in this episode because he's basically knocked out for most of it. He's unconscious. While in his mind, he's fighting off Ramsey Rosso, or not really, maybe like listening to him. And so there's a lot of trippy stuff. We see Ramsey Rosso now knows about Crisis, about him being a Flash, all of it. But also we see a lot of trippy sequences. The one that stood out to me was when Team Flash was sitting at a dinner table eating, and then Ramsey Rosso comes out with some food, and then all the food around them starts turning black and gooey, and their mouths are all like oozing the black blood stuff. And that was really creepy and a really well done scene. And so you see a lot of just this trippy stuff. And another scene that really hit me was when we see baby Nora, and Barry can't even hold her because this is all a dream or whatever. But also seeing baby Nora is also kind of touching, right? Because again, we only saw her as an adult, and as an adult, she wasn't the best person. But I think it was a really sweet moment to see Barry and Iris with a baby. And then while dream sequences and stuff are going on, we have Iris's writing story going on. Her journalism story. Okay, I don't know words. All right, her journalism story is actually moving forward. We are actually getting journalism Iris. Like finally, reporter Iris. And we see them tracking down the secret organization again that had been on their radar for a few episodes now. And they lead to this one guy, and it turns out this part of the secret organization are people, it's like how they describe it is like a evil Uber. Like they're transporting things that the government may not want people to know about, like in secret. They're transporting items, people, all kinds of stuff. And then immediately after Iris and Allegra go to talk to this guy, he gets killed. And so now it looks like there's a bigger thing at play. And I love this one shot where you have Allegra, Iris, and Camilla. we have the three of them sitting in like kind of the hero shot, and that's when I'm like, all right, yeah, they're definitely committing to this journalism story, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. And now all three of them know about the Flash, metahumans, everything. They know in the multiverse. They all know about all of that stuff. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they all tackle this. And we also see Iris kind of coming to terms with writing that article about Barry disappearing because she knows it's going to happen. And Allegra keeps trying to get her to do that and like finish the story, but you see it's really hard for her. And let me see. There's another great scene while in Barry's mind where you see the Speed Force and Ramsey Rosso like side by side, like trying to fight for Barry's attention, fight for Barry's control of Barry's body, right? And this scene was really powerful because you see Barry realize that Ramsey Rosso was right because the Speed Force says it. They said, yeah, everything Ramsey said was right, but it's not. It's right, but it's not right. If that makes sense. Like it's true that that stuff will save you from the crisis, but it's not the right thing to do because again, it's not going to make you a good person. It's not going to be. You won't be the same person afterwards. Which by the end of the episode, you see they're right. But Barry's like, why would I not do this? Why would I not save myself? Why would I not save the world, but also keep with or stay with my family and my friends? You know, like, and he yells at the Speed Force. He's like, tries to speed jab punch or whatever you want to call it, the Speed Force, and like, it's just a really powerful scene because you see, like, he's kind of right, and he is. You see, like, everything he's been through. It's just not fair. So to see him have to like give up everything for being a hero just didn't make sense. So it does seem logical why he would kind of float to Ramsey Rosso's side. So we do see the two sides fighting for Barry's attention. And it's really cool. You see like the electricity on one side, the goo on the other side. So when Barry comes to, everybody's like, wow, you're so strong. You did this. You were able to fight him off. And he says, yeah, I did. Then things seem like they're fine, and he's like typing on the computer. Iris comes like, hey, are you okay? Maybe we should go. And he's like, oh, no, I'm just working on something, blah, blah, blah. Iris takes Caitlin / Killer Frost, and Cisco aside says, that's not Barry. And then they go to confront him again, and it turns out he's like zombie bloodwork Barry now. He's like evil Flash or negative Flash, whatever you want to call it. And he zooms away with the black lightning, and now like his face is all like black and oozy, and his emblem is like covered in sludge. Like, it's crazy. So now he's basically working with bloodwork. He's possessed by bloodwork, basically. And so that's going to be very crazy. Now I see why it's part 1 of 2, because now part 2 will be basically, this is, I guess, their mid-season finale, but not really, because I think Crisis will technically be the mid-season finale for everybody. But this is basically their mid-season, or like their mid-season wrap-up to this story before they go into Crisis, because Crisis is actually 2 days away in their time. But it was really crazy. Oh, and then there's Killer Frost and Caitlin. So it turns out now Killer Frost and Caitlin have this deal that the medical emergencies will be handled by Caitlin, which again makes sense, and they do switch out now. And you also see Killer Frost get really shaken up. Now, the thing is, I felt like there were some times in this episode where the line between Killer Frost and Caitlin was kind of blurred, even though they were switching out. There were times that I felt like Killer Frost was acting a little more like Caitlin, and I'm not sure if that's on purpose or if that's kind of, they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. I'm not sure if that's where they're going, but hopefully there's more of a hopefully they distinguish them more as we go on throughout the season. But it was interesting to see Killer Frost basically have a panic attack because she's like being overwhelmed by like the crazy stuff that's happening. She had to try and save Ralph, and then she had to try to save Barry in the same day. So of course, medical stuff isn't her forte, but she's been in Caitlin for so long, she probably picked up a few things. But it was interesting to see her have this moment of she's very vulnerable, which you don't really see because she's always acting like the tough person. So it was a good, interesting twist to her. And finally, we see Nashwell's getting closer to breaking into the Monitor's lair. I still don't know where that's going to go. I'm not sure if he's going to become Pariah or it's going to lead to Pariah somehow. We will see. But I am interested. And Crisis is coming very, very soon, and I'm super excited, but also kind of scared because I'm pretty sure out of anything, Oliver probably is gonna die, but at the same time, I'm not sure about Barry. Barry, I'm still on the fence about. I'm not sure if they're gonna really commit to it or if they're gonna find some loophole. We'll have to see. But what did you think of these 2 episodes of The Flash? Let me know down in the comments. Also, don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Happy Thanksgiving if you're watching this. Well, actually, I may or may not post this on Thanksgiving Day, or I might just wait till Friday. We'll see. But if you are watching this on Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. And if you're not, then happy Friday, Saturday, whenever I post this. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.